Hey ya folks, how's it going? My name is Lexi and I really love tabletop games. So much so that we sit down together once a week, every week, and we review one here at the gaming table. I try to keep these videos short, under 10 minutes, so we can both find our next game. If that sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to press subscribe and keep watching today's video. If you would like to do something really special for the gaming table, you can donate to the channel using the link in my description box below to my Ko-Fi page. All of those donations go straight back into the running costs of the channel, so it is deeply appreciated. To save my wallet for today, I went and borrowed a game off a friend to review, so thank you so much for the loan. From Pickpocket Press, we are taking a look at Low Fantasy Gaming Deluxe Edition. Low fantasy gaming doesn't come with a pre-written setting. As suggested by the title, it's a manual that's suitable for a low fantasy setting. I would say if I really squinted, I would be able to say there's maybe a European fantasy bent to the manual, but that is only present really in the name of the gods available to one of the classes, and you can easily reflavor those. This game comes with the classes of Artificer, Barbarian, Bard, Cultist, Fighter, Monk, Ranger, Rogue, and Magic User. Only the Cultist and the Magic User have access to magic, and there's a pretty good in-world explanation for this. Magic is incredibly dangerous to use in this game, and also pretty underpowered. The Magic User is often open to being corrupted by dark forces, and the Cultist could get in trouble with one of the gods they call on for help. I mentioned that the magic isn't really that super powered. You can't bring people back from the dead. One of the aspects I loved about the magic system in this game was the names of the different spells. There's a spell to identify magic up to 30 feet, including its type. This spell has the name of Pierce the Veil. There's also a couple of cool little magic items available there too. In terms of the classes, I do find Monk a bit of an interesting inclusion. The Monk always to me has sort of a wuxia flavor to it, so it might not fit in your game setting depending on what kind of game you want to run. Perhaps you might not include that class in your game. Or if you're going for a setting where the monk fits in, you might encourage your players to select that class. You can absolutely reflavor any of the flavor text in this book to suit another setting. If you do want a bit of help though, there's some fantastic tables in this game where you can roll to see what treasure your characters might find. This game is part of the old school revival movement, and it really has that feeling down to its core. It's a d20 roll under system, and you take the result from the die and compare it to your attributes, seeing what you're capable of doing. The attributes in this game are strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, perception, willpower, charisma, and luck. We'll say the luck attribute has slightly different mechanics to the other attributes when you are rolling. Depending on a character's weapons, hit die, and equipment, you might need some other polyhedral dice with you aside from a d20. There's also a few d100 tables for the game master to roll on, and potentially players. I would suggest if you're going to play this game, you bring along the 7-piece polyhedral dice set that is pretty standard to most tabletop role-playing game stores. I also would suggest just having a couple of spare loose die around should you need them. I want to really praise this manual section on traps. Traps are often a really cool part of dungeon crawls, but game manuals often don't know how to tell you to run traps. This manual has a great section on creating interesting traps for your players to overcome. Oddly enough, this game also includes mechanics for running a game on the high seas with gunpowder. So kind of a piracy option. I don't mind that there's a section for these, but it feels a bit odd that there's some optional mechanics for this, but there don't seem to be other optional mechanics for other genres highlighted. I wonder what might fit in with the low fantasy gaming rules that belongs to other subgenres. Maybe there's possible mechanics for intrigue-heavy stories. Something this manual covers that I don't see in a lot of tabletop role-playing games is mass combat. Mass combat is always a bit of a tricky one for me because it feels like it's heading towards the wargaming territory. While tabletop role-playing games and wargaming share an origin story, they tend to behave very differently. I'm not certain from how I understand the mass combat rules if they are going to be useful to a game or not. I just don't have enough experience with mass combat, I think, to comment on them. I want to mention that most of this game manual is under an open game license, so if you are looking to create a game and you're looking for a system to use for it, this could be potentially a really helpful resource to look towards. There's some flounces and flares to give this manual some interest and flavour, but most of the work is dedicated to giving you a good toolkit for a game. I think whether or not this game appeals to a group is really going to depend on how a game master makes a setting for it. The mechanics are solid, so it would really depend on what kind of story the game master's looking to tell, and if that's something that the players are interested in as well. I definitely think this book is aimed at game masters rather than players. A physical copy of this book costs just under $45 US from drive-thru RPG. There are cheaper options for just a PDF. I guess depending on what kind of game you want to run, the PDF might suit you just fine, or you might like the full book there. I'm kind of curious what you think of toolkits. Do you prefer them to full tabletop game manuals with a pre-written setting? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. While you're there, I encourage you to like this video and perhaps even share it with a friend who might find it interesting. If you'd like to keep up with the gaming table, please feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way YouTube will tell you when I've next uploaded. If you would like to go the extra mile for the gaming table, you can donate to the channel using the link in my description box to my Ko-Fi page. All those donations go straight back into the running costs of the channel, so I deeply appreciate it. I've even started to include a little thank you at the end of my videos for everyone who's donated. I want to thank you all for watching and discussing Low Fantasy Gaming Deluxe Edition with me. I hope you're all well, and I look forward to seeing you next time at the gaming table. Bye!